But the DOE expects we will be paying $5 to $7 a gallon for our gasoline without including those taxes. So we have a major economic impact that is going to tax the pocketbook of every American citizen across the board.
The Department of Energy is predicting $5 to $7 for a gallon of gas. Corporate turnaround specialist H. Andrew Thornburg has seen the handwriting on the wall and has some alarming predictions for the future for our country. You need to see this and get ready. It's all coming up next on Full Disclosure.
Relentless, probing, fearless. This is Emmy Award-winning Full Disclosure with Leslie Dutton, bringing you the truth by revealing the news behind the news.
Hello, I'm Leslie Dutton. Today on Full Disclosure, we're bringing you the news behind the news in this part one of our interview with H. Andrew Thornburg. For the past 30 years, Mr. Thornburg has been helping struggling companies restructure their businesses so they can move forward on a profitable footing. He has a master's degree in quantitative analysis from NYU and understands the effects of political policy on economics. We started our interview by asking him to evaluate the energy plan put forward by the Obama administration. So tell us, what is this new energy program that the president has proposed?
Well, the most succinct description of it is the New Energy for America plan, which has 5 basic points that was issued and put on the White House's website earlier this year. I analyzed all the 5 elements that they have in there and have concluded that they will achieve none of these goals.
It says here that he's going to help create 5 million new jobs. Tell us about that.
Well, the 5 million new jobs are based on essentially force-feeding wind and solar power energy projects. I mean, that's his pet goal. And essentially, he's following the Spanish model, where they have produced 20% of their energy from renewable resources. However, the Spanish issued a study shortly after he came to power, it was the end of March, that showed that in achieving this, Spain lost 2.2 jobs for every job it created. The conclusion of the University of Rey San Carlos is that if on the similar basis, the U.S. could lose between 6.1 million and 11 million new jobs by trying to create 3 to 5 million jobs in the energy sector if they follow the Spanish model.
According to the New Energy for America plan, the proposed policies over the next 10 years will save more oil than is currently imported from the Middle East. Mr. Thornburg doesn't believe that's possible.
It's an absolutely bogus statement. The Department of Energy issued a report which I analyzed on March 31st when they issued their addendums and all the data, and they show that we will be using at the end of a 10-year period of time 4% more oil than we are today. We have increased driving, and that includes the CAFE standards and all the reductions that are currently in the law. It takes into account all of the above. What they must have done to do this is say, well, we're going to save by solar so much oil equivalent. But it is totally misleading to think that this president is going to lead us to energy independence without doing drilling and exploitation of our own natural gas and oil reserves.
According to their website, they're going to plug in 1 million hybrid cars to accomplish their goals. Will that make it happen, we ask him?
We use 15 million cars, or produce roughly 15 million. Let's just say it's only 13 million cars. In a 5-year period of time, we will have produced clunkers that outnumber the cars by 60 to 1. We will have 60 to 75 million brand new cars that have the fuel efficiencies of about 25 miles per gallon at the time we have 1 million new green cars. It doesn't get there.
So the few green cars that are being produced will be only a small portion of the total number of vehicles produced for Americans. And then the next logical question becomes, who will buy these green cars? With our current economic difficulty, people aren't buying big-ticket items, and with the huge number of people out of work, how many people will be able to afford to buy these new green cars?
Well, that's another issue. The hybrid cars are a lot more expensive. So therein lies the problem. You had $50,000 cars. The Colts are at $40,000. Now those will come down with production. But what people forget is that we have 238 million cars on the road. And even if you put 1 million cars out there, it's less than half of 1% of all the cars will be a hybrid with that kind of mileage in it. And that's why gas consumption or oil consumption does not drop.
Is it feasible that 10% of our electricity is coming from renewable sources by 2012 and 25% by 2025?
Well, part of that, one has to remember that included in renewables is a huge share of hydropower, which is already in existence, CVA and everything else. Currently, the United States produces less than 0.1% from solar and just over 1% from wind. The Department of Energy believes that we can increase by 350% our wind to a total of about 2% of total energy coming from that source. By 2025, the DOE, in looking at our whole energy mix and what is economically feasible and what would make sound economic principles, thinks we can do 13% of total energy from renewable.
Only 13%? Where do the politicians get these ideas that we can get so much more energy from renewables in the near future? These unreasonable goals are not based on science, according to Mr. Thornburg.
And this started, I think, here in California. You know, people love slogans, 20 by 2025, really nice round numbers. What they don't realize, by 2025, we are only going to have an increase in domestic demand by 14%. So what we're talking about, if you ever went to 20 by 25, not only would every power plant have to be a solar or wind farm, but you would have to be retiring economically viable plants. What is that going to do to the U.S. economy when we start taking 5 to 10% of plants that are economically justified, haven't been fully amortized, and take them out of service just to achieve a goal that's not based on anything other than Madison Avenue sloganeering?
So are we ready to further torpedo our economy to reach these magical goals? At the same time, the Congress is planning to implement the so-called cap-and-trade emission control program. We'll hear what Mr. Thornburg has to say about that when we come back from a short break. We'll be right back.